What's the easiest year you've had as a filmmaker?
I would say the year after Rising Star was finished was probably the easiest year I had as a filmmaker. I made a short that year that I wrote, directed, and produced. That's actually on Amazon Prime right now.
Oh, what's it called?
Yeah, it's called Protesters.
Okay, good.
And that was sort of the joyful next step after finishing a feature that literally took everything out of me. When we finished Rising Star, I didn't know if I would ever make another film again. It took 5 years of my life, and it took a lot of money, and it took all my energy. And I wondered if I had enough in me to do it again. So that short film was sort of like the test. Like, would I be able to do this? I wrote the script with one of my actor friends in mind from Rising Star, a guy named Michael Berra.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And he's great. He just finished up a national tour of A Bronx Tale, and he was on Broadway with them for a while.
Good for him.
Yeah, so he produced this short with me, and we wrote it together. Meaning he like gave notes on all the drafts that I wrote. And then it was a 3-day shoot, and we did it, and it was a blast because there was no pressure. We made the whole thing for $2,000, and it was fun. We had all actors that worked with us on Rising Star previous, with the exception of one new guy who was amazing. His name was Norm Golden. He's a New York actor. He's great. And that sort of gave me hope that I could keep doing it. At that point, before we made the film, I thought that my future was going to be back in producing and just sticking with that. But once I made that short film, I felt a lot better about it. And I started thinking, okay, what else can I start making? What else can I start working on? And I had gone back to the script that I've been tinkering with for like 7 years, and I did a draft on that. And I acted in a couple films that year that friends of mine were making. And so it was definitely the most optimistic year in my career as a filmmaker, because it was sort of the beginning of my building up to the point where I could make another feature, I think.
What about the toughest year you had as a filmmaker?
Without a doubt, 2011. Because we shot Rising Star in 2010. We shot in October, and we finished right before November 1st. And the first week of January in 2011, my father died. So I went all the way through post-production, also grieving the loss of my dad. And at the time, it was one of those things where I thought I needed to just push it down and just get it over with. And that was probably the reason we were able to finish the film, was because I did that. But it definitely had repercussions for me later on, as far as grieving the death of a parent, because I really didn't deal with it. Ultimately, over the next couple of years, I would. But that was probably the hardest.
You made Rising Star in Connecticut, and I know that the state of Connecticut seemed very supportive. You were interviewed on at least 1 or 2 news out, and you had coverage, and I don't know if the Hartford Courant or...
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah.
So you were really embraced.
Yep.
And then coming to a state where there is a film energy, but there's so many people doing it. How did that feel? Because you came from being a rising star in Connecticut. Sorry, I had to do it. And then you come here, and I'm not saying you're not a rising star, but I'm saying it's just there's so many rising stars.
You're one of a million.
Right. Yeah. How was that? Because you have a level head, and you're grounded, salt of the earth, I would say, from knowing you.
Thanks. Yeah. It was a challenge. I think part of why I did it was because the institutional support that I got from Connecticut in making Rising Star was starting to disappear. We had a tax credit from 2006 to about 2012, and that brought so much filmmaking activity and so much energy to the state. But in 2012, they stopped the program.
Oh.
And once that happened, all of that filmmaking energy was gone within weeks. It was just done. And I was sort of caught off guard because here I am, I put so much time and energy into this, and I didn't really know what I needed to do next once that happened. So I had actually, right around that time, I actually started a business with two colleagues of mine that I taught with at Quinnipiac. And it was a production company and social media services and crowdfunding consulting we did with a lot of folks from Yale, from the Entrepreneurial Institute there. And that lasted for about 2.5 years. And we made a decent living doing that. But ultimately, I wanted to be in an area where that energy was there. And I knew it would never happen in Connecticut again. So it was just a matter of looking and where did I want to go. I tried living in New York for about a year. Actually lived with Michael Berra.
Oh, nice.
And that was great. And we had a great time.
There's a web series.
Oh, 100%. We talked about that actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then after that, I came back home because my mom was sick, and I was home for about a year. And then at that point, I was living in Connecticut. There was nothing going on film-wise. I was having trouble finding work. So I just decided, okay, I just need to go where the action is. And that's when I started putting out feelers, for jobs in California. And thankfully, about 6 months after that, Chapman contacted me and, said, we're interested in having you as our production manager. And wow. I got the offer, and 2 weeks later, I was in California.
This was in 2012?
2015.
2015, okay.
Yeah.
So the economy was more, things had improved.
A little bit.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Because was it challenging to find jobs out here? Especially with your background? You have a great background.
It was different. I applied for primarily educational jobs because I knew I was going to be one of a million people applying for production jobs, and I didn't live in LA. So I knew if I was going to get something, it would be something that was a little more institutionalized. So higher ed seemed like the natural fit because I had taught, and I had applied at different film schools. I applied at UCLA, AFI, or at Cal State Fullerton, I think I applied at actually. And, nothing came of those until, Chapman had reached out to me. And the reason Chapman reached out to me is because one of their deans went to the film school at Florida State.
Oh.
So when he saw that I was a grad, that's how I got that in. So that was ultimately, it was the network, that ultimately helped me to get that job.
Because you had such, not just the education, but a body of work. You'd been through the trenches. Mm-hmm. And to think that it took that long to find something just shows you how competitive.
Oh, 100%. And I was so grateful to get that offer because I had assumed nothing would come of it. Just because I don't know anyone out here, and it wasn't until I actually got here that I started creating a network of LA folks. It was just a Florida person that helped me get out there. So it was a very, very unexpected thing.